Hi everyone, I'm Oliver and welcome back to Aviary. Now in today's video we're going to be talking about 3 methods of how to help your birds deal with night fright, and this is commonly caused by fireworks, which you'll find obviously usually around bonfire night and the new year. So there's 3 methods which are commonly used, and I do use all 3 methods just to try and reduce night fright as much as possible, because you can lose birds from it, you can ruin show birds, and it's just added stress to the birds which they could do without. So we're going to get right into it and talk about my 3 methods of controlling night fright in birds. So something that I think an awful lot of people do is lights. Now lights, obviously when you've got lights on and it is dark, night fright will only ever happen when it's dark, especially with mainly the flashes of light from a firework and then the very loud bang. Is that by having lights on, you've got reduces the effect of the flash. The flash is minimized, if not at all seen, especially if it's out in the distance. The birds hear the bang but they won't see the flash. But even if it is close by, having lights on, I've got LED strip lights in here, or it can be any other type of light, as long as the birds can see, it does help them. Not only does it lessen that flash, it also helps them keep stress free as much as possible. And if you're doing that maybe for the bonfire night, or you're doing that for New Year's, then you should be fine. Obviously you don't want to leave your lights on all the way throughout the night, because you could cause your birds to go into a soft molt once you actually turn those lights off. So it is something to be aware of. What I'd recommend doing is putting a timer on and having your timer on from extended hours, and maybe have it on in the day, or if your light goes on, put it on from probably 5 o'clock when it goes dark, and probably put it on until 1 in the morning, and do that. So you don't have to have just like big lights like this which light the whole shed, but you could have a night light just enough so it not only decreases the effect of that flash, but the birds can see the perches and hopefully get a bit more calmer from that. So the next thing is radios. Now what this does is gonna dull out and hide that bang. By having a radio playing in the background, the birds are going to be listening to that all the time. So if there is a big bang, it's not from silence to a very loud bang. They've got noise and then there's a bang, and it means there's a less wider range of quietness to bang, and then it just means that the birds are going to be more calmer. It's not a sudden bang and not a sudden burst of noise, which can obviously cause them to get frightened quite easily. So it's something else to take into account, is that is something that's quite commonly used as well, is having your radio on, and it really does make a difference. I do that. I have a radio on in the bird room in here, and that does help cover the flights. I've got one in the other bird room which will cover that whole bird room, and then for the other flights outside, well, generally I'll try and not have birds in there around that time, but if there are, I can always plug another radio in or something, or even just turn up the volume in another radio just to dim that out and make it less of a sudden bang, and it really does make a difference for the birds. And then the last thing, this is something that not as many people know about. It's something that I've looked into and then was told about from a 1 or 2 fanciers, not something commonly done. And it's actually the use of blue moor. So blue moor is also known as poppy seed. It's quite readily available from most seed suppliers. You can get it online, Direct Bird Products and other online retailers. Or if not, and if you are in dire need of it, and you can't get it in time, then it is sold in most shops as well, Tesco's or what have you, although it is slightly different there, and it is a lot more expensive in a shop than if you bought it from a seed dealer. So what blue moor has is an awful lot of really important properties, but we're going to focus on a few which obviously relate to reducing night fright. So blue moor, it's a natural sedative, so it does help calm the birds down. When it's got its high opioid levels, which make the birds calmer, it makes them sleep better, and it is actually used in humans as well. You know, you don't want to overdose because it can cause problems, but you know, it's usually fine with birds unless they're consuming a very large amount of it. So the high opioid levels mean that the birds sleep better, and it just makes them a hell of a lot more calmer. So if there is a big bang or if there is a big flash, then it just helps keep them calm and stress free, and then it means that you know, you're less likely to suffer from having night fright in your birds. So that's something that's really important. And it also has high levels of morphine, which is, well, sorry, not high levels, but it contains morphine. So it does have a pain relief property as well. Not really as much as useful in this, but it does, you know, it helps keep the birds calmer. And I do use this in sort of treating more ill birds. If there is any bird that falls ill or anything that's just not quite right, new birds, they come in, then they'll get some of this, help keep them calm, as well as it does a really good job for the birds. So when I'm giving that to them, we'll just use a finger draw and we'll put that into the cage, and they'll just get a finger draw per pair. I give it them in the evening, so they'll probably get it 2 hours before before nightfall, and then that just means that it's going to cover them for a good few hours of when those fireworks are going to be going off. They get it in the system in time, so it still has the effect. And obviously if you give it them in the morning and you're giving it for the evening before, the levels might have dropped of the opioid inside the birds, and then you do end up where it might not have the effect that you want. So just something else to use is blue moor. So see if you can get some of that, and hopefully that will be useful for you in helping control your birds with night fright. So I wouldn't say that there's any bird that's not prone to night fright. They all are. You know, most animals are. Is that the loud bangs, the big flashes, they do upset them. You know, and that's not just birds. That's dogs. That can be cats. That can be all sorts of different creatures. So it's something to take into account. But obviously we're covering it for our birds. Birds that are more commonly prone to it are greenfinches. So I'm sure a lot of the top greenfinches, the greenfinch breeders will know, you know, you might have a night light on, you might have the radio on all the time, and then if you do supplement blue moor as well, that's useful. And it's something like that can be so easily that the birds can drop flight feathers, they can drop tail feathers, and then if you are looking to show that bird, well, it's ruined a show bird, and it does take then time for that bird to fill back out. And it's the stress as well. They can injure themselves, they can even kill themselves because of something like that, you know, a panic and flying into something if they can't see. So hopefully this video has been useful for you, with it coming up to bonfire night relatively soon. If you have enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more tips like this, as well as all my future videos on breeding mules, hybrids, British birds and canaries, and everything else we'll be doing, make sure you like the video, subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next video.